Hi everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter, and I am here with a card project for you today. I am getting ready to go on a cruise with my family, and so I've been really inspired by all things kind of sea and nautical lately. So I thought I would make a card today kind of inspired off that whole sea thing. And I'm going to make an ombre background and then do some letter pressing on it to create a really cool effect. So I'm going to start out here. I have three colors of mist here. I have teal from Heidi Swapp, it's the color Shine. And then I also have Mr. Huey's by Studio Calico in the color Dewy. And then I have the Calico Shine as well. And so I'm going to be using these three mists, and then I'm going to be using my letterpress and some dies from Lifestyle Crafts as well. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to bring in my misting box and a piece of letterpress paper. Because I am going to be letterpressing this, I need to use letterpress paper. And so I'm just going to place my letterpress paper inside of my misting box, and I'm just checking to see. Looks like you can see it. Now this is not the cleanest technique I've ever done, but the effect overall is really cool, and I think this is a really fun card. Anytime I do letterpress, I think of mass producing, so this is one that you could definitely do that with. So I'm just taking this as dry here, and I'm just going to use my mist to create kind of an ombre effect. So this is the darkest, it's the teal. And I'm just going to very lightly spritz across the bottom of this paper. And I just kind of use quick motions, go back and forth, and I let it spray plenty off the bottom of the paper so that I'm not too heavy. And then I can go in with the Dewy, and I'm just going to kind of sweep upwards with that. And then what I found is that I can go back then and add layers of color to kind of get the effect I want. So I'm just adding a little more of that darker blue, and then I will add just a little more of the Dewy to kind of blend them together. And I'm letting the top kind of fade out to nothing. You'll see a few little spots there, but that's okay. Now, once this is down, because of the teal, the Heidi Swapp Shine already has a little bit of shimmer to it. I'm going to coat the whole thing in the Studio Calico Shine so that it kind of gives that shiny appearance to the whole thing. So I'm just going to sweep back and forth over it and just kind of get that nice and wet with that Studio Shine or that Calico Shine. And then I can set this aside to dry, or you can take it and hit it with your heat tool. I actually have a few of these made already, so I'm going to set this one aside, and you can't really see the shine as much now, but when it dries, it creates a really shimmery effect. So I'm going to set this one aside to dry, and I'll bring in one that I've already done. So here are a few of the backgrounds I created. These were all done using the misting technique that I just showed you. And then these were done with some paintbrushes and some water, and I just wasn't getting the effect that I really wanted. So the misting was the best way for me, but you can experiment with that. And you can see each one's going to have its own kind of character. But I'll set these aside and use this one here. I've already dried it, so it's nice and dry. And then I will bring in my letterpress materials here. I have my plate here. This is my ink plate, and I already have a little bit of navy ink on this plate. And so I'm just going to spread it around, and I do have a complete video on the letterpress and how to use it in my archives, so you can go back there on YouTube and look at that. But I'm just going to prepare my ink by spreading it around. And you just basically want a nice, even layer of the ink, and I just go back and forth. A little bit of this ink goes a very long way. It's a very dense and sticky ink, so when you use it, use caution. You don't want to use a whole lot of it. And I am going to bring in my letterpress tool here, and I'm just trying to hope that I can get all of this onto the camera. Here, looks pretty good. And there's a portion of this you can't see over here. That's where my paper goes, but I'm going to show you the inking up. I have this Petals printing plate background here already mounted and positioned how I want it for the front of the A2 card. And so now I'm just going to take my brayer and my ink and just ink up this background. Okay, so now I have my plate all inked up, and you can hopefully see that there. And then on this side of my letterpress tool, I already have my guides down. And I want the top of this design to have the lightest part of the ombre effect. So I'm going to put that up towards the top, and you can see I have my paper guides here to kind of keep that in place. And then I can go ahead and close this letterpress tool right down over my paper. And this whole letterpress tool goes into my Big Shot, and I have a couple bottles over here blocking me putting this down. Just goes through the Big Shot, and this will work with the Evolution from Lifestyle Crafts and the Big Shot as well as the Vagabond. So you can put that in there, and then I will just get it started rolling through. And now you can see that I have that pattern perfectly pressed into that. And when I was kind of thinking about this, this reminded me a lot of like a mermaid's tail with the shells or with the scales and that ombre shiny effect. So I thought it was really cool and very nautical, as I alluded to in the beginning. So there is my card base. And now I can go ahead and set this aside. I can clean this later. Lifestyle Crafts makes some wipes to help clean this up. But for now, I'm just going to set it aside and finish the rest of the card. I have a few die cuts that I have that are from some Lifestyle Crafts dies. I'm going to be using this doily shape, which you can see I've cut down here. And that is from the Nice gift set. There was two gift sets at Christmas time, one called Naughty and one called Nice. This is from the Nice. And then this is from the Shape and Tape kit, or the Tape It kit, I'm sorry. The Tape It kit, and this is just kind of a banner shape. So I'm going to be layering some of these up on the side of this card. And from another piece of this watercolored or misted paper, I'm going to be cutting this banner, which is from the Banners and Arrows set. This Banners and Arrows set is one of my favorites. So I'm going to run this over to my die cut machine, cut that, and then I will be my banner cut now. And these are all eventually just kind of layer up on this side of the card. I'm being a little bit careful with this background because sometimes the ink for the letterpress ink takes a little bit to dry. So I would recommend actually doing a bunch of these backgrounds or doing them and then kind of setting it aside to dry for a bit. But I don't have the luxury of time today. I'm kind of running out of time till our trip, so I'm trying to get things done. So this I'm just going to take to the side, and I am going to stamp a greeting on this. I decided to use this Just Saying Thanks sentiment from the Simon Says Stamp Tilted Banner Sayings. And so I am just going to pull that off, and I will mount it on an acrylic block. And I think I'm just going to stamp it in some, and I will ink this up in the, Stampin' Up Midnight Muse ink. And stamp it right on my banner. Okay, and then I'm just going to make this banner a little bit dimensional by scoring just a couple of lines in this banner. So I'm going to take my stylus here, and I'm just going to kind of following the angle of the banner ends, just kind of make two little score marks on either end. And that's just going to create a place for me to score this and then make it kind of a more dimensional banner. So you probably won't be able to see those score marks, but it just allows me to fold directly on those lines. And for the banner, I'm just going to add a little runner adhesive to the end parts and then add a little dimensional sticky thumb squares here right in the center to just give it some dimension. Just going to add a couple little rhinestones to kind of anchor this banner here, just here in these banner ends. Now this just gets mounted on a card base, and that is the card for today. So I hope you enjoyed this new kind of fun watercolor mix with letterpress, And I hope you were inspired to create something kind of nautical and sea-like yourself. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.